Due to recent YouTube updates, comments and likes have become more important than ever. I beg you to please consider doing exactly that. I read every comment that you write me and answer whenever possible and or need. I'm also open to suggestions for future content. My videos are created without the use of AI, so please support your fellow human content creator against clanker slop. Thank you. Being a divorced dad sucked. Sleeping alone, eating alone, kids spending 90% of their time with mom, and the leftover 10% were spent pretending you were just alright enough for them to not worry. Not to mention all the alimony. Most humans thought it was a human thing. Just something that happened and was inevitable. But most, if not all, monsters didn't quite get it. Though some did. One of these monsters was the freshly divorced Asgore dreamer, owner of Flower King's flower shop in hometown USA. He and Toriel had split just long enough for him to not be over it, but be settled in with his new life. By now it was normal, but it stung less like a wasp and more like a mosquito, itching at his scalp but not outright painful. Of course, monsters gave him empathy, but truly he didn't want empathy. He just wanted to move on. Wanted his kids just be like they always were. No one even mentioned how bad they felt for him. But that was mean. He couldn't just blow up at someone like Undyne or Jerry for just caring about it. He sat in his shop, brooding over his inventory. There was a little light hanging above him, a metaphorical one. It had started a few weeks ago when hometown's general store had run out of anti-mold fertilizer. Apparently it was too chemical. The stuff now was only sold outside of the village. Which didn't make sense to Asgore. The stuff did keep plants healthy, so what if it was chemical or not? Nevertheless, rather than a 10-minute drive with his pickup through hometown, it now was a 1-hour journey to Northtown, the closest human settlement. Due to humanity's technological superiority over the magic-using monsters, mankind had advanced quite rapidly. The monsters used fire to cook, humans already had stoves and, most importantly, air fryers. Oh, how Asgore loved this. Not even magic could make his fries taste this good. Opening his desk drawer, Asgore took out a sticky note, quickly writing down what he needed, just to not forget, before leaving his shop. The ritual, however, was less of a slop than at first glance. In fact, he looked forward to it every week. The drive went down a semi-narrow asphalted path through the meadows of hometown. It helped him think, come to terms with his life, as well as jam out to the human radio, which in the village only had terrible reception. But most of all, he enjoyed one thing above anything else. After the long drive, he parked near the loading bays of Northtown's local grocery store, walking past a rather bored-looking young woman on a cigarette break. Asgore went into the store, ducking as he did. After all, the automated doors were made for the more compact humans compared to his massive monster form. The first time he went here, everyone gave him weird looks. But since he did this journey every week, the humans, who were weary of monsters, just stopped coming around the time Asgore came, while the ones more open-minded simply stopped paying attention to him, seeing him as merely another customer. Asgore grabbed the chemical fertilizer and with a big smile walked towards the cash register. The woman who worked here specifically on this day was this adorable little lady called Delilah. He just couldn't help but find her endearing. Always a smile, always a cheeky little wink. She was the closest human to being a monster when it came to personality. But sadly, As he placed the fertilizer bag on the shopping belt, his eyes fell upon just another human. Probably a co-worker of Delilah's. He forced a smile when it came to his turn, and casually asked,
So, where's, the girl who's usually here?
The guy shrugged absentmindedly.
Of course.
Sighing, Asgore grabbed his bag after paying. Maybe he just forgot her schedule. The monster was so enthused that as he left the store, he didn't notice you, the woman, smoking outside, while inhaling a nice long drag. You felt suddenly something massive, warm and soft crash into you like a mattress fired from a cannon. Ah! You fell forward onto your knees, dropping your cigarette. Grunting, you barked, "Hey, look, dumbass!" So... You stopped mid-sentence, the angry visage wiped away with bewilderment. "Oh yeah, that monster guy."
I'm sorry, miss.
He had shouted over you, kneeling down next to you before helping you up.
Are you alright?
Yeah, just surprised. You brushed over your leather jacket. Nothing's broken. You're just about to take your cigarette box out again to light it up, but you realized, alright, that was my last one. You had just run out. Disappointed, you sighed. But then your eyes met Asgore's. "Hey, big guy, it's your fault I dropped my last. Go grab me a new one."
Of course, miss.
Asgore sighed. Why must every human be so rough with everyone? 6 minutes later, Asgore left the store with the smoke pack in hand. He gave them to you with a nod.
You know these will kill you, right?
You smirked. Good. He blinked. What? It's gallows humor, big guy. You purred. You should try it. You said, slapping the pack against your hand to have one shoot out perfectly, placing it into your mouth.
I don't smoke.
It might make you less of a pushover, though. He didn't react to the sarcastic chuckle you were giving him. So, what brings a monster here? Aren't you guys in love with the idea of being around similarly minded creatures?
It's just a stereotype.
He went quiet for a moment and then admitted,
But it is easier being around other monsters, yes.
See? I'm right. You leaned against the wall, hands in your jacket pockets after lighting your stick up and taking your first drag. But I did see you a bunch of times. Always the same day, too. What's up with that? He inhaled and sighed.
Well, I need fertilizer.
Yeah, right. On the same day, same time, every time. He furrowed his brows.
Have you been watching me?
A moment of silence followed, and your eyes narrowed a bit. Perhaps. You chose to say. Be honest with me, you added. Asgore scratched the back of his head. He felt cornered. Here was this catty little human. He should just leave, but he didn't. He felt as if specifically a little demon like you could help him.
Truth be told, human, I like this cashier. Her name tag says Delilah. She's cute and bubbly. She acts just like
a monster. He blinked.
Honestly, no, it's like a mix. It's close. She has the kindness of a monster, but with the sincerity of humans. I think I like her a lot. But I can't just ask her out, you know. I'm not from here, and just look at me. Not to mention I'm a divorced dad of 2.
Your eyes moved up and down from him. He was humanoid enough. Among internet circles, at least. There was a deep appreciation of monsters who were human, but with a lot of hair, which was exactly what Asgore was. If he had been a slime in a suit or a straight-up skeleton, you would have said something else, but you just bluntly said, "With your attitude, I wouldn't even try, but you have qualities." Asgore bit his lower lip and blushed, suppressing the anger he felt from your answer. But things aren't unsalvageable. You know, I know her. I know how she thinks. Practically grew up together. Asgore blinked, confounded. Really now? How could such an adorable little girl be friends with such a delinquent? Poking his chest playfully, you mused. Meet me here every week from now on. Have a little smoke with me. I'll tell you everything you need to know about her. You gave him a wink, seeping with amusement and sarcasm. And I'll coach you on how to date a human. And I'll even coach you on how to date a human. Alright? Asgore's grip around the fertilizer bag tightened a little.
You would do that for a stranger like me?
You shrugged.
Okay. Next time I need fertilizer, I'll see if you're in the alley.
There we go. Good boy. See you soon. You finished your smoke and used the key to enter the grocery store from the back. Oh, thought Asgore. You were a co-worker of hers. Now that made everything much more convenient.
Thank you for playing matchmaker, human.
You stopped in the doorframe and just chuckled before closing the door. The weeks blended together, everyone marked by the same ritual. Asgore would lumber down the side street with fertilizer under one arm, and there you'd be, leaning against the wall like you'd been waiting all day. You'd light up, offer him a lock sharp enough to cut through his politeness, and then the strange rhythm of your sessions would begin. At first he hovered, nervous in the alley's shadow, clutching the bag like a shield, but repetition dulled the edges. By the third week he set the bag down first before leaning against the wall beside you. By the fourth he no longer tried to hide the way he watched your smoke curl upward, pretending he was studying the bricks instead. You made it clear from the start, humans weren't swept by grand gestures the way monsters were. You don't need to show her fireworks, big guy. You purred, flicking ash into an old coffee cup. You just need to give her peace. And being with you feels like an easier life. She'll keep coming back. Asgore absorbed it with the seriousness of a priest taking a confession. Sometimes even repeated it back to you, rolling the words around as though trying to make them his own thoughts. Peace, not gestures, though sometimes they're appreciated. You muttered, and he repeated it. Half to himself, half to you. He only smirked and pulled another drag. Other times he spoke more than he expected to, about Toriel, about mistakes, about waking up in a house too quiet. He admitted how hard it was to be both gardener and father, and how his sons were night and day in every way that mattered.
Asgore cries about his exams. Calls me at midnight sometimes, like the world is ending,
he said one evening. A chuckle had followed, fond but tired.
And Chris, he's the polar opposite. He never says how he feels. He looks at me and sometimes I can't tell if he's proud or disappointed, or if he even is capable of feeling emotions at all.
Your brows arched when he mentioned Chris's girlfriends, Susie and Noelle. There was a shadow in his tone, but beneath it was something else. A low, almost guilty pride.
2 girlfriends. I never had that kind of courage, he admitted darkly. Even if Chris doesn't smile. I know at least he's living.
You tapped your cigarette against the wall and smirked. Maybe you should be taking lessons from him and not me. He groaned, but you caught the corner of his mouth twitch upward anyway. The more these breaks piled up, the easier it became to read him. At first he barely moved, all stiff shoulders and careful words. Now he leaned, weight pressed into the wall, exhaling more freely, even crossing his arms on occasion. Like the alley itself had become neutral ground where he could be less of a shopkeeper and less of a divorced dad and just be himself. It was strange how quickly it became normal. For him to expect your teasing, for you to expect his sighs and pauses, and for the 2 of you to let the smoke fill the silence before either spoke again. That was where you found yourselves once more. The middle of another smoke-thick therapy session. Asgore's deep, rumbling voice mixing with your sharper tone. Both you circling the same unspoken things but never quite saying them. I think we should start fighting the problem more directly. What I mean is, I think we should try flirting today. You mused.
Flirting?
He blushed hard. Yeah, I mean, if you want a relationship with her, that will be required. Asgore felt awkward. Just pretend I'm Delilah. He looked you up and down. It was easy to pretend you were her. You both were blonde and dainty, but your sharp grin did match Delilah's bubbly smile. He cleared his throat and tried. Honest to God, tried, and that was the least you could say to that.
Hey, you have pretty hands?
You barked a laugh. Wow, what a smooth criminal. Every girl's dream is a man noticing her knuckles. His ears went flat.
Alright, your smile could lighten up a shop?
You smirked, exhaling smoke. Congratulations, big guy. You sound like a Hallmark card. He grimaced, fumbling again.
Your laugh makes the air warmer.
You tilted your head, amused. That one was corny enough, I almost slipped on it. He groaned, dragging his paw down his face.
It's impossible.
Just relax. Flirting is not about poetry. It's about hitting someone in a way that makes them forget to roll their eyes. He stared at you for a moment, ears twitching. Then, very quietly, Asgore said,
If I could spend every Friday in this alleyway just talking with you, I think I'd be happy.
The words caught you off guard. They weren't practiced, weren't rehearsed, they just landed. Your smirk froze for a moment, smoke slipping from your lips. Then you tilted your head, grin tugging back into place, but not quite as sharp as before. Careful, big guy, you murmured. Say things like that and I might start looking forward to Fridays too. It hit him square in the chest. His blush deepened to crimson, shoulders stiff as though you'd struck him.
That was...
He stammered.
How do you say things like that so easily?
You gave a slow shrug, eyes glinting. Well, because I actually mean what I say. His gaze flickered down the back, still reeling.
If your words you just spoke actually meant something, I think I'd pass out from embarrassment right here.
A quiet moment followed. He was looking at you so softly, and you really tried not to blush. You cleared your throat, flicking ash to the side. Look at me like that, big guy. You'll make me think you actually enjoy this. He chuckled low, rubbing the back of his neck.
Well, maybe I do.
Your grin faltered for half a second before you caught it again. Careful now. Sounds like you're practicing on me and not Delilah. He hesitated and then leaned a little closer.
Well, maybe it's not as much pretending as I thought.
Your stomach gave a treacherous flip, but you masked it with a smirk. Aw, big scary monster falling for a mouthy little human. What a cliché. But not really. This is just practice. His ears burned red, but his eyes stayed on yours.
I know, it's just easier to talk to you than anyone I know.
The smoke caught in your throat and you coughed lightly, heat creeping up your neck. That one wasn't half bad. You admitted, trying to keep your voice steady. If you keep that up, I might actually have to believe you. He froze, eyes widening as though the weight of his own words hit him all at once. Suddenly, the blush spread all the way to his ears and he looked away flustered.
I think that's enough practice for today, he mumbled, scratching at his beard like it might hide him.
You laughed, but softer than usual, pressing your cigarette out against the wall to cover the way your own cheeks were burning. For the first time, the silence between you felt heavy in a different way. Not awkward or cruel, but charged. That night was torture in its own way. You buried your face in your pillow, heat rushing up your neck. Every time you shut your eyes, all you saw was his soft, glowing, far too earnest eyes. You kicked your mattress in frustration, flipped over, stared at the ceiling, and cursed yourself for letting a clumsy, fluffy giant take you off guard like that. It didn't matter how many times you told yourself it was just practice. You couldn't stop smiling. Across town, Asgore wasn't sleeping either. He sat hunched at his kitchen table, tea long since gone cold. His chest tightened with every thought. He had come to Northtown chasing the idea of Delilah, the safe dream of a bubbly cashier. But in the alleys, in the smoke and sarcasm, he realized he was looking forward to someone else entirely. And the thought left him panicked. How could a divorced, fumbling monster deserve that kind of second chance? The next Friday, the air between you felt different. Still the alley, still the smoke, but every word carried hesitation. Finally, Asgore broke the silence, his voice low but steady.
You know, I like making your life easier.
You narrowed your eyes, smoke slipping from your lips, defenses nearly cracking. What makes you say that? He smiled faintly, almost shy.
You smile more.
Your breath caught, exhaled slow through your mouth, cheeks warm with embarrassment. Before you could answer, he pressed on, the words tumbling out of him.
I spent so much time with you and not Delilah, I honestly think I'm falling for you more than her.
The world felt smaller in the alley. The cars, the chatter of the store, gone. Just his words hanging in the cold air, trembling but true. You smirked weakly, trying to salvage your sharp edge. Careful. She sounds like flirting. His laugh was shaky, but it softened the weight between you.
And you don't roll your eyes this time.
Guess I liked it. You flicked your cigarette to the ground, crushing it under your heel. For a long moment, you just stared at each other, the silence heavier than ever. Then you step forward, close enough that the smell of tobacco clung between you both. His hand hovered awkwardly before resting against your shoulder, and you tilted your chin up, closing your gap. The kiss that followed was slow, long, and flavored, with smoke and nerves. Something deeper neither of you had wanted to name until now. It wasn't clumsy, but it also wasn't practiced. It was just a meeting of two people who made each other's lives easier without meaning to. When you finally pulled back, you were smiling. So, yes? To dating?
Yes.
He whispered, dazed. He felt like he was punched in the gut, but at the same time cuddled by a goddess.
I like that very much.
Relief swept his face, until panic returned, sudden and sharp.
Oh crap!
His ears twitched.
I just realized something. I never asked your name.
You laughed low and smug, stepping back towards the doorframe. You gave him a smug grin. You laughed low and smug, stepping back towards the doorframe, finally, playing your full house. My name is Delilah.
Hey, you reached the end of the video. That makes you part of an exclusive club. Our secret password is Cheap Thrills. Put the secret message in your comment below to tell fellow members you watched the video until the very end. Lastly, before I say goodbye, I would normally shout out my channel members. However, due to losing monetization, I currently do not have access to both channel memberships as well as a list of previous channel members. Nevertheless, I'm eternally grateful to the channel members I used to have, and in the case memberships get reinstated, I hope I'll see you again. Thank you for watching.